Most punters are betting on over 2.5 goals completely wrong, and I am now going to walk you through 5 mistakes most football bettors make without even realizing it. It is comfortably the most popular market in the world because it feels so simple, just 3 goals and you win. But that illusion of simplicity is exactly why it is a graveyard for casual bettors, and if you want to be a professional, you need to avoid these common mistakes. So, go put the kettle on, and let's dive right in. The first mistake is betting on big teams instead of goal environments. This is the most common trap I see, and it's what I call reputation betting. What this mistake is seeing a famous attacking name like Manchester City, Real Madrid, or Bayern Munich, and assuming that goals are a mathematical certainty just because they have world-class strikers. Why it matters is that over 2.5 goals doesn't actually require a team to be dominant. It requires a high tempo. In many cases, once a massive team goes 2-0 up, they actually become your worst enemy. They reduce their risk, they slow the tempo down, they rotate their key players, and they manage the game to protect their structure. The game state collapses, and that third goal never arrives. What most bettors do wrong is they think a famous attack is a reason to bet at any price. When I first started out, this is a mistake I used to make myself constantly. I used to fall into this trap where I'd load up my accumulators with all the big name favorites at kickoff, thinking that more recognizable teams meant more certain goals and more profit. I was completely ignoring the actual value of the price, and I learned very quickly that a controlled 1-0 or 2-0 win for a giant is a disaster for an overs bettor. In a way, I was basically betting on that favorite to score over 2.5 goals rather than expecting the match to be over 2.5 goals. How you should approach this correctly is by asking if both teams will contribute to the scoreline. You want to see structural chaos where the losing side is forced to chase the game. Over 2.5 goals is an environment bet, not a reputation bet, so you should be looking for high-tempo transitions rather than just a famous badge. Now, the second mistake is not understanding price or your required strike rate. This is probably the most damaging error because it's a silent leak in your bankroll. What this mistake represents is the failure to convert bookmaker odds into implied probability. Why it matters is that if you're taking a price of 1.60 on a game, you mathematically need to win 62.5% of the time over the long term just to break even. If your true strike rate is only 55%, you are guaranteed to lose money even if you feel right about the game. What most bettors do wrong is they operate entirely on feeling, saying things like, there will be goals in this, without ever looking at the math. Let's say you're watching a match where the price is 1.70. That means you need a hit rate of 58.8% to stay afloat. If you move up to 1.80, that requirement drops to 55.5%. Professional betting is about probability arbitrage, not just predicting a scoreline. How you approach this correctly is by being robotic with your entry. You should never place a bet until you've converted the odds into a percentage and compared it to your recorded hit rate. If the math doesn't work, the bet doesn't exist. You aren't just betting on goals, you are betting that the price is wrong. By the way, if you like videos like this and want to see more on this subject, remember to click the like button. It tells YouTube to send you more of this kind of content. And while you are there, you should hit the subscribe button and notification bell so you never miss a system or strategy video. Now, the third one is something most bettors completely overlook, and that is chasing high-scoring leagues. This sounds logical on the surface. You look for the Bundesliga, the Dutch Eredivisie, or the MLS because they average over 3.0 goals per match. But the mistake here is forgetting that the market already knows this. Why it matters is that if a league averages 3.2 goals, the bookmakers will aggressively price the over 2.5 goals at something like 1.50 or 1.60. The public piles in and the value is completely crushed. Out of curiosity actually, have you ever found yourself blindly following a league average only to find that the price was so low there was no point in even placing the bet? Let me know in the comments because I'm genuinely curious which of these traps you find the most frustrating. What most bettors do wrong is assuming that high scoring equals value. How to approach it correctly is by looking for where expectation and price diverge. The best value often appears in moderate or even lower scoring leagues where a specific tactical mismatch creates a free goal environment that the market hasn't fully accounted for because it's anchored to a lower league average. For example, a league that averages 2.4 goals per match can still produce a high-tempo shootout, and you'll often get a much better price because the public perception is focused elsewhere. By the way, guys, if you want to skip all that manual research and find the best over 2.5 goal bets instantly, the Statto app is a brilliant research accelerator. Instead of spending your morning manually analyzing matches and checking league averages, you simply press the relevant prompt and let the artificial intelligence do the heavy lifting for you. It automates the entire research process and generates insights instantly, allowing you to find the genuine value spots where the probability and price diverge. It is all about time saving and simplicity, ensuring you stay focused on the trades that actually have an edge. Click the link in the description or scan the QR code on the screen. This next mistake catches a lot of bettors out, and that is ignoring game script and motivation. Football isn't just a set of data points, it's incentive driven. What this mistake represents is the failure to realize that certain match types naturally suppress risk-taking. Why it matters is that even the most aggressive teams will change their behavior based on the context of the match. Think about a relegation six-pointer, a first-leg knockout tie, or a massive local derby. In these games, the risk appetite drops and the tempo slows down because the fear of losing is far greater than the desire to win. What most bettors do wrong is assuming that a big game equals big goals, when it usually means a cagey defensive stalemate. I learned this the hard way during my early years when I would let my emotions take over and bet on overs in a massive derby just because the teams were famous for attacking. Every time I've ignored this rule and entered a trade without considering the tactical caution of a high-stakes match, I've been reminded that the scoreline usually ends 0-0 or 1-0 because both managers are terrified of making a mistake. This is where most people slip up, and I was no different. How you approach this correctly is by looking for asymmetric urgency. You want to find games where a draw is a disaster for both sides or where one team is forced to abandon their defensive structure to chase a result. Over 2.5 goals thrives in chaos, not in a cautious equilibrium where both teams are happy to settle for a point. And finally, the last tip, which is the most impactful insight of the entire video, is taking bad pre-match prices instead of using in-play drift. This is a silent bankroll leak that affects nearly every casual bettor. What this mistake is overpaying for certainty by entering the market at kickoff. Why it matters is that goals are not evenly distributed across the 90 minutes. Statistically, the second half produces far more goals, yet the market often overreacts to a 0-0 scoreline in the first 15 minutes. What most bettors do wrong is they feel they need to be on at kickoff, taking a price that offers zero value. A common situation might be seeing a pre-match price for over 2.5 goals at 1.72. If the match starts and there is no goal in the first 15 minutes, that price will often drift out to 2.05 or even higher. If you've watched those first 15 minutes and can see that the tempo is still high, the shots are building, and the XG is climbing, the structural probability of 3 goals hasn't actually changed, but your price has improved significantly. How you approach this correctly is by exploiting that time decay. Professionals use the drift to pay less for the same probability. You don't need to predict the goals earlier, you just need to wait for the market to give you a fair price for the event you are already expecting. By using in-play entry when it's logical, you transform emotional goal betting into structured probability management. And like I said earlier, guys, hours of manual research and trying to calculate these probabilities yourself are no longer necessary if you want to professionalize your approach. Statto dramatically speeds up the process by providing structured betting insights instantly. It handles the heavy lifting of data analysis, scanning the globe to find those specific spots where the environment and the price offer a genuine professional advantage. It is a serious upgrade for any football bettor who wants to move away from the feeling of the game and start using a disciplined, data-led process. Click the link in the description or scan the QR code on the screen right now to see how the artificial intelligence can accelerate your research and help you stop making these structural errors. I really hope this breakdown of the biggest over 2.5 goals mistakes has shown you that consistency comes from structure and pricing, not just guessing where the goals will be. When you stop chasing reputations and start following a rule-based framework, your results will naturally follow. Remember to click that like button if you found this valuable. It tells YouTube to show you more of this kind of content. As always, the learning shouldn't stop here. There is actually another video on the screen right now that I think you'll find very useful if you want to keep building your knowledge and sharpening your edge. Go ahead and click that, and I'll see you over there.